Time to find out what is making a buzz online this Tuesday. James Creedon is here for Media Watch.
Hi
there, James. It's good to see you. We're going to start with one of our top stories this hour. This was this rapid escalation in violence between Israel and Hamas. Hamas says there is now a ceasefire, and we are waiting for Israel to respond to that. 460 rockets fired from Gaza into Israel. Israel responding with airstrikes. And yesterday, one of those airstrikes hit the Aqsa TV channel, which Israel says is basically Hamas's propaganda arm.
Right. So interesting to look at the kind of comment around that, whether or not it's being viewed as propaganda. The Times of Israel, Israeli strike levels headquarters of Hamas-affiliated TV station, and for them it's clear that Al-Aqsa was used for military activities, including sending messages to terror operatives. Various tweets then from within Gaza showing the images of the strike. That they were warnings were sent out in advance, and there was one death, but many more people in the building evacuated before that. Let the world witness the moment Israeli warplanes bombed a press building in Gaza. So from this person's point of view, this is an attack on the media, an attack on the press.
I don't think anyone was killed in that airstrike, by the way, because all in all, 7 people were killed. 4 of those people in Gaza were Hamas militants, and the others, as I understand it, were farmers.
Right.
So no casualties in that particular attack.
Very good. If Palestinian rockets targeted and destroyed an Israeli television channel, says Tasneem Idris, Western leaders will be clamouring to be the first to condemn Palestinian aggression against journalism and demand accountability in the name of democracy. So there's this whole debate about whether or not you can say propaganda on one side, no propaganda on the other. But lots of then people pointing to, I suppose, clear evidence that there was a lot of quote-unquote propaganda coming out of this television station. For years, Hamas terror TV Al-Aqsa has been spreading propaganda, anti-Semitism and hatred amongst Gaza residents and children. Tonight it became a nice future parking lot with minimal damage to nearby residential buildings. There were some tweets then with a note of humour here. The new studios, perhaps a dark humour in the circumstances, but certainly the building was leveled. Now, this particular Twitter user here is Israeli, sharing a CNN video that does actually show some of the content of Al-Aqsa, showing Hamas fighters coming out of tunnels and attacking Israel and coming back in. So certainly it was promoting violence, that's for sure. Elsewhere, this is a political scientist in Italy, Saverio Leopardi in Bologna. He is criticising the self-defence arguments of Israel, saying when it is targeted assassination in the middle of a truce negotiation, etc., is it really self-defence? But I suppose that depends on what particular incident you're talking about. Humanity is a joke, says this particular Twitter user. I suppose just, upset by the whole situation, not necessarily finger pointing.
You could kind of use
exactly. And just to finish with, this is Palestinian journalists condemn Israel targeting of journalists in the Gaza Strip. This is the Gulf Times, but it must be said that organisations such as the Committee to Protect Journalists, that there was an appeal. This was from in Istanbul that they gathered. They've been appealing for journalists around the world to join those criticisms. There has been some degree of hesitation, probably because the arguments that Al-Aqsa was engaged in kind of military type activity are persuading some. In any case, the Committee to Protect Journalists remaining silent.
And in either way, a comment just come in from the French President Emmanuel Macron, in fact, who has firmly condemned the rocket fire by Hamas and is calling for it to avoid all escalation. That is just coming in from the Elysee right now. Let's talking about the Elysee. Russian media outlets, Russia Today and Sputnik, may soon be back at the Elysee after they were banned by President Macron.
That's right. I suppose we remember that this moment back in May of last year. This was at Versailles Palace. The red carpet was rolled out for Vladimir Putin, and Emmanuel Macron took the opportunity to really dig the knife into the tactics of Russia Today and Sputnik during the election campaign, saying that they were propaganda organs funded by the Kremlin, and he was saying this essentially on front of Vladimir Putin. Well, it looks like there's a bid now to relax that, because basically Russia Today and Sputnik can't get access to the Elysee. They can't follow Emmanuel Macron, generally speaking. But now, since the 11th of November, since the Armistice Day celebrations in Paris, that is no longer going to be the case. The CSA, which is the Conseil Supérieur de l'Audiovisuel, which is the, I suppose, media watchdog in France, has already given them a license to operate in France. So I suppose the Elysee...
They have a French channel, right?
Indeed. That's right. And the Elysee is just going to respect that now in terms of allowing them to cover events at the Elysee Palace.
So we could see more Russian journalists here in Paris. All right, James. Thank you very much indeed. James Creedon there with Media Watch. Now, time for our focus